Okay.
If you're here, I'm happy.
Rolling on the set.
Tanu Rabbanan. Let's start with the Gemara here, and this will explain the next piece of the Nefesh Hachaim. Gemara Mefursemes Avodah Zarah Ches Amud Aleph. Tanu Rabbanan. Yom Shenivra Boy Adam Harishon. The day that Adam Harishon was born, first day, he had already done the chet of the Eitz Hadas. I didn't waste any time. Did that right away. Kivin sheshaka alav chama, the sun started to set. First time. So, first time the sun sets, the first time anything happened was a remarkable experience, right? So, Rashi says later that when Adam and Chava gave birth to Cain and Haber, so Chava had like a very strange reaction. Oh, wow. I'm also able to create a person. We kind of think take for granted. So the first day, it started to get dark. So Adam Harishon assumed that the reason it's getting dark is because the world is coming to an end. Because he did a chet. This is the Oynish. He knew that it was Niknasal of Misa. He didn't know what Misa was. But he assumed Misa was that the world is going to go back to Tohu Vavohu, which is a logical conclusion. So all of a sudden the sun starts falling down from the sky and setting. So Kivin Sheshakal of Chama Omar Adam Harishon said, Oili Shebishvil Shesarachti Olam Choshuch Ba'adi. That this must be because of my chet, that the world is becoming dark. V'yachzar Olam L'toyu Vavoyu, and the world is going to return now to its pre-creation state of Tohu Vavoyu. Mizuhi Misa Sheniknasa Alai Min Hashamayim. This must be the Misa that I heard about that is coming because of the chet. Hayayoshev B'tainus, so he started to fast. Uboicha Kol Alayla, and he started to cry all night long in the dark. V'Chava Bocha Kenegdo, and sitting with him was Chava crying. So the first night of the creation was spent crying. Then Kivin Sha'ala Amud Hashachar, then the sun started coming up. Okay, that worked. Kivin Sha'ala Amud Hashachar, since the sun started coming up. Amar, he said, Min Hagoy Shel Olam Hu. He didn't say that worked, but he said, okay, the sun goes down, the sun goes up. Kachi Darka Shel Olam, Kachi Min Hagoy Shel Olam. So he woke up in the morning. What did he do? This was, day 2. Shabbos. Amad v'hikriv shor shekarnov koidmin leparsoisav. He got up, he brought a carbon. This is, of course, the first carbon ever brought, obviously. And he took a shore. Gan Eden was full of different kinds of animals. He picked a shore, shekarnov koidmin leparsoisav, that its horns came before its hoofs. Shenemar v'seitev l'Hashem yishar par makrin mafris. It's a pasuk in Tehillim. And David HaMelech asked for the same chen that Adam Harishon had with his carbon. What does it mean? Karnov koidmin leparsoisav. Its horns came before its feet. So what it means is that the whole world was created b'koimasai nivra. The world was created a finished world. And for instance, Adam Harishon was born, created. He wasn't a little baby. He was already 30 years old, 32 years old according to the Medrash. Lamed Beis. Chava was the same age, obviously. I mean, he was also a little baby. But they weren't babies. And just like they weren't babies, Agav, while we're here, also the trees weren't little saplings, and the animals weren't little animals, little puppies. Which is probably why, if they'll check the age of the world through carbon testing, they can come up that it's 2 million years old. Why? Because it took 2 million years if their checking is accurate. It took 2 million years for the tree to get to what he saw as a tree. So So it was created that way. As Hadakasha, it was created 2 million years old. The scientific question is a lot of questions. The Gemara is answering right here. So the lashon of the Gemara is Kol Olam Kuloi B'Kaimasai Nivra. Hashem created a complete world. It was ready to go. There wasn't anything left to do except for Asher Bar Elokim Lasais to take the world and to work with the world. So therefore, how was the world created? So the animals of the world came out Afar Min Ha'adama. Everything was created from the earth. So when you look at how a shore was created, a complete shore with its karnayim, which is already an advanced level shore, it has already horns. That the baby park is not born with horns, but it came out of the earth that way. So when it came out of the earth, like if you would watch it being created, the very first shore, the way it was created is first came out the karnayim, right? What's that? Is it a tree? Is it a bird? Is it a plane? What is it? First it came out the karnayim, and then came out the head, and then came out the body, and then finally came out the prasot, the hoofs of the animal. So Adam Arishan in being makriv an original shore. The first shore, says the Gemara, it was a shore shekarnoisav koidmais leparsoisav. This was a shore that its karnayim came out before its prosoisav, which is significant to what we're talking about. That's the shore he picked. He could have picked, he could have chosen the next shore, could have taken another animal, but he chose a shore, and it was an original shore, originally.
Well, not if the animal's horns come out in front, some come out behind.
It doesn't make any difference. The point is it came out of the earth before its head came out of the earth.
Right.
So
It was created from the earth.
So let's say a deer also has horns and a goat.
Could have been created, it could have been the same thing. They were all created.
So why did you choose the shore?
Why did you choose a shore? But right, that needs to be from the kosher animals. That's the king of the jungle. The kosher animals.
Most expensive korban on the third.
What?
It's the most expensive korban on the third.
Right, but the reason why it's expensive and the reason why it's the korban hanifchar is because that's the king of the animals, is the shore. It's the strongest. It's a beast of burden. It's kosher. It's kosher. So it had split hoofs when it finally came out. It had split hoofs. The main significance or the main focus here is that the horns were born before the animal was born, or created before the animal was created. So what is the significance of that? Just a little bit further in the Gemara. Amar Rab Nachman bar Yitzchak, when David HaMelech talks about this, in Tilim Samach Tes, I think, when David HaMelech speaks about it, he says there's a ksiv and a kri. So there's makrin with the yud, makrin mafris. First came the karnayim, then came the parsa. But it's written makrin with the yud, but the other way. It's written mem kuf reish nun, but it's pronounced makrin as if it has a yud. And the reason for that ksiv kri, says Reb Nachman bar Yitzchak, that the pshat is that the animal that we're talking about here was an animal of one horn, not two horns, unicorn. But not a unicorn, which is usually a horse, but a
Uniox.
Uniox.
Unishore.
I don't know what corn means. I just know una means one, right? So it's a unishore. So the unishore, una means one. Like a uniform means everyone's wearing the same thing. United means everybody's together. So everybody becomes one. So una means one. So it was a unicorn or a unishore. And how do we know this? He says this. I mean, there was such a Messiah, but David HaMelech alluded to this Messiah that this was the only time in history, no matter what you've read as a child, this is the only time a shore has one horn. Doesn't happen. Unicorns are mythology, and this is where the myth or the mythology comes from, I should say, from what was true, and that it was makrin mafris, mikeren mafris. Karen means one horn and not two. Also significant. Why did he pick a shore that has one karen? Because just before we get to Nefesh Hachaim, which is very I must say insightful and creative Nefesh Hachaim. And I say creative because I opened up the Mefarshim and the Yaakov and this and that. Nobody's comments on this Gemara. Came out no comment on this original carbon. Nothing. So I mean I can't say right, but I didn't see any. It's not. You would think this is the sugya, like this is the sugya of the Gemara. None of the Mefarshim explain what it is. The Maral a little bit, but doesn't touch the issue. However, say this Nakuda, the Ramban says at the beginning of Vayikra, in his Hakdama to the Vayikra, when he talks about Karbanos, so he talks about the fact that the carbon, part of this is known to everybody, the carbon is instead of me, yeah? Like I'm bringing a carbon, I'm bringing the behemoth, should have been me, and now it's the carbon. But of course it's deeper than that because he says there that shor is the nifkar shabbat korbanos because the shor has ramach evarim, just like a person.
Who says
The Ramban. I wouldn't know that. I wouldn't know, but he says it has ramach evarim, which of course is mamish makbil to the person, A, and B, it's also makbil. It stands parallel to the Ramach mitzvahs essay. So there are 248 mitzvahs, and there are 248 limbs, and that's why, says the Ramban, a shor is the ultimate carbon, as opposed to a bird doesn't have 248. Or a carbon mitzvah doesn't have anything, but a shor is the most doma to a person. So when you say why a shor, it gets even a little bit deeper according to the Ramban. Because a shor is something like a person. You see, the Navi says, Yodeya shor karnehu, a shor knows and a person doesn't. A shor knows who its owner is and a person does not know who its owner is. There's like a dimion between a shor and a person. I'm sorry,
I was going to say, it's like being in makrib yourself, that when you bring the shor, it's
good deal. So you're bringing a shor, it's ramach. So Rabbi Hakoin in the Pri Tzadik in Bereshis, so he says, I don't understand. The shor, the original shor that Adam was makriv had horns. So it has two kashas. First of all, we find in Gemara and Zvachim that a Karen is called an Aver. So it didn't have 248 altogether. First of all. Second of all, it should be puzzled for a carbon, just on a technical note, because anything like a kosher carbon is everything that a shor, let's say, is born with. After that, it's a mum. After like a growth. So a karen is a growth. So he says, well, that's not a kasha because this particular shor was born that way, came that way with the karnaim. So that explains why he was allowed to take a karen. So he says, Reb Tzadok says in his brilliant fashion, he says that we find Adam Arishan did all the mitzvahs. As I'll say that. Adam Arishan did the mitzvah. Shabbos, he said Mizmor Shir Le'am Shabbos, etc. And he had one extra. What was one extra? Not to eat from the Eitz Hadas. You don't have that mitzvah, I don't have a mitzvah, so we call Eitz Hadas Toichel, we call Eitz Shebagad Toichel, and Eitz Hadas Lo Toichel. So he had a special mitzvah. So by him it wasn't Ramach, it was Ramat. So it's very important, says Reb Tzadok, that the shor had its horn. It had to be one horn because he had one mitzvah, so it's connected to one mitzvah. So we're not dealing with Ramach, we're dealing with Ramat. So it's
So according to that, they weren't done through the horns then?
No, you can't be makriv a shor with horns. But Adam Rishon could be makriv a shor with horns because it was born there, and it had to have one horn.
So that was the one.
So that was because he only had one extra mitzvah. Because when you take the whole parallel, it's Rabach mitzvahs, Rabach evarim, and he goes on to say even that he actually had an extra aver, which we won't get into right now. What was the kusnas or of the extra aver that he has? But you see, like this it starts to come into focus. The shor shehikriv Adam Harishan. So comes the Nefesh Hachaim. Let's open this up. Perek Chaf. After he explains remember that the last time we were talking about Yehei Shmei Rabbah. So the Yud Hey stands on top, and then it gives koch Yehei with the Milui of Yud, the Milui of Hey, the Milui of Aleph. We spoke about Shmei Shem Yud Hey, Rabbah La'olam Olomei Omaya. So Yah is always, the Yud Hey is always standing on top, Ki B'Ko Hashem Surei Lamim, and down further comes the Vav Hey. So then you have the full Shem Hashem coming into this world. So what a person can affect, when you say Yehei Shmei Rabbah, for instance, the tefillah is that we're getting right into the top level. You know, you need to get an ishur on your building or something, you go to the Prime Minister's office. You're going straight to the, no pakid for me, like I'm going straight to the top. So when we say Yehei Shmei Rabbah, when we daven, we're going straight up to the top of the Shem Ka, and then from there we're building down. So it's an up to down movement as opposed to a down to up movement. That's what we said about Yehei Shmei Rabbah. Olam, Olomei, Omaya. And that's Meduyik in the whole Kaddish, that you're bringing the Shechina from a very high place into this world, which in Kabbalistic language is called Malchus. That's called Malchus. That's what we learned last week. I've been talking in the morning, the last couple of mornings after davening, just the beer of Shemon Esrei. You can read it on, you can listen to it on WhatsApp in 1 minute. That there seems to be a machlokes between Nusach Ashkenaz and Nusach Sfarad all the way through, whether you go from up to down or from down to up, because in the case of let's say Nusach Hari, the Lubavitcher Nusach, you say Chanenu Meitcha Chachma Bina Vadas. In the case of Nusach Ashkenaz, Nusach Agra, it's Deya Das Bina in the middle again, V'Haskel. So, and what we do with it. So it's a very interesting, the same thing is Slach Lanu Avinu, Ki Chatanu Mechalanu Malkenu. Malchus is always lower than father. Like one's an intimate thing. Like let's say you're part of a business or a Malchus or something like that. So the chutz, you have to act like everybody else with Malchus. You have to give the right cover. But at home you can say, hey Dad, what's happening? So the Avinu is higher than Malkenu. But then we say Ki El Toiv, so ki moichel v'soleach ata. So the order is slach lanu, machal lanu, kaper lanu. That's the order. High is the slach lanu, machal lanu, kaper lanu. So why do we say moichel v'soleach, going from down to up? So it's the same thing as chachma bina v'das, moichel v'soleach. And the other nusach svarad is ki el toiv v'salach ata. El toiv v'salach. We don't even get down to Mechila and Kapara. So it's a very interesting machlokes all the way through. Not for now. We're learning in the morning. That has to do with whether tefillah is going from down to up or it's going from up to down. And you find also in the Gemara two opinions. One says that the tefillah is keneged korbanos, which is always down to up. And the other sheet is keneged avos. Avos is from up, avinu, malkin avos. It's always Avram, Yitzchak, Yaakov, what they did, working its way, bringing the Shekhinah into this world, working its way down. So you'll find this, it's a good yesod. You'll find this machlokes throughout Shemon Esrei and throughout so many different things. The truth is that they're both true. HaKadosh Baruch Hu is working from up to down, and we're working from down to up. The chiddush of the Nefesh Hachaim is that we can work with HaKadosh Baruch Hu from up to down. So that therefore there are Kubalim that say, as I pointed out in the morning, they say both. They say moichel v'soleach ki el toiv v'salach ata. That's what they say. There's the siddur of the Mekubalim. That's what it says. You look, it says both. You know the fancy siddurim with all the stuff between the lines. So that's going in two directions, which the Gra was very against, because the Torah says mefurish that there has to be 21 words in that bracha. The Gra tells us that every pasuk that talks about Teshuva, every single pasuk that talks about Teshuva has 21 words. There's a whole list. So, the Gra. So you don't mess with the 21 words because you're a Mekubal and say both things. But the point I'm making here is that there's the up to down and there's the down to up. Very, very important.
How much kavanah must we have in that action?
As much as possible.
When we do Ma'asim, so we bring it down and take it up.
Yeah, both. Why not? Malachi Elokim Olam V'Yardim Boy. The kavanah and Sahar. the kavanah of Shemoneh Esrei, if you listen to too much of this stuff, you end up davening all Shemoneh Esrei for an hour, that's too much. But the basic kavanah is, I have two things. One is, I want to do what I can do in this world to bring the world to a higher place, and I want to do it as much as I can, because, B'Shem Yud Hey, to make the world a better place. So ultimately, you're bringing the Shekhinah down and you're bringing yourself up. It's a sort of like a 1-2 motion. This is not from the difficult kavanas. There are difficult kavanas, but this is not from the difficult kavanas. So up to down, down to up. So now, says the Nefesh Hachaim, let's take...
Why don't you see this in Kaddish, like what we're saying now? It's La'omei Omer, which is down.
Up to down.
So why isn't it Machlokes that something so should be...
Because that's what Kaddish is. I'm saying Yiskad over Yiskadash, Meirabah. That is the tefillah of Kaddish, for sure. Bring it down here into this world. Look, our whole tachlis is to bring Kedusha into the world. Anybody thinks they have a different tachlis than to bring Kedusha in the world, like make a family or to make money or make this, has got it wrong. There's one tachlis to bring Kedusha in the world. Mela, you have to do everything else in order to bring Kedusha into this world, but there's only one tachlis in this world, is to bring the Kedusha in the world. So Hashem created, or the words of Chazal, She'asa li dira b'tachtayim. That was why Hashem created the world to begin with, and that's what He created us to do. So nobody should get confused about what their purpose is, to bring Kedusha down. And part of that is to bring, when Mashiach comes, like Malchus, you're bringing the up to down, and it all becomes one thing. It all becomes one thing. Up, down, up. It's all together. It's all one world. That's the goal. The job is to bring from up to down and from down to up. The goal is to make it all one thing. Here comes Nefesh Hachaim, so imaginatively, I think, so creative. And this is what the Gemara that I just learned with you means when they say in Avodah Zarah Daf Ches Amud Aleph, Shor shehikriv Adam Arishan Karnoisav Koidmais Leparsaisav Hayu. So think about it. The Karnayim, the horns, came before the Parsais. So that's a very clear up to down. Or, to put it more clearly, this means that Adam Arishan is saying now with this carbon, it's not a regular carbon, he's saying, I'm going to now access Ki B'Ka Hashem Tzarei Lamed. Where normally, as I explained, the shore doesn't even have karnayim. You know, that's a psul in the carbon. That's called a mum in the carbon, to all. So that's normally, because normally by a carbon we're going from down to up. That's what a carbon is. That's what Ramban says. That's what a carbon is, going from down to up. Now Shein Kain Adam Arishan is saying, I can access the Shem Yud Hey. So says the Nefesh Hachaim that he bedafka looked for a horn, a shore with karnayim, so he can access the highest part and move down to the lowest part, which are the parsai. Fascinating, right? I mean, nobody else. I finally saw on the bottom of the Ein Yaakov. So he says this pshat. I said, okay, so then it's an old pshat. This is exactly this pshat in the Gemara. And he says, Hein Reisi b'Nefesh Hachaim. It's the mashma that this is his chiddush, the Nefesh Hachaim's chiddush. To me, that makes it exciting. Yeah.
This point that the world was created complete. What is that? The Eid Lo Yaleh, or the cross and burnt in Davenport? What's that about? That's not finished.
Well, meaning complete except for an Adam, and then an Adam has to take it further. So we plant trees, we do all that. So there's no point in the world was created complete, but nothing grew. Nothing grew. So Adam Arishan had to cross things grew. But it was a good point, because what was that? Terem Yimtar ala Oretz. So what is the terem? That he was waiting for Adam Arishan to daven. So in other words, the job of Adam Arishan is to access to become a shutaf in the Ma'aseh Bereishis. Would you find this lashon in the Gemara? Anybody who's done dinem islamita nasa shutaf la'Kadosh Baruch Hu Ma'aseh Bereishis became a shutaf in the whole Ma'aseh Bereishis, bringing everything. Became a partner with Hashem. And to be a partner with Hashem, he had to wear the uniform. So that was why he was called. We had to be at Tzelem Elokim. Tzelem Elokim. Had to be, because this is what we are. We're partners with the Kadosh Baruch Hu. So that's what he means when he says Gam Kein Inyan Ma'aram Zal Shor Shehikriv Adam Arishan Kar Noisav Koid Mois LeParsoisav Hayu Shekivein Ba'akravasai. And his kavanah here, says the Nefesh Hachaim, with this korban, is, listen to this, such special language, L'sakein asher ives, he did a chet, right? So he means to be Mesakin asher ivnes, livnois haneroses, l'karev asher hirchik, u'liyached asher hifrid. Four things. Don't read this quickly. Four things. L'sakin asher ives, livnois haneroses. Sakin asher ives is to fix that which he broke. Livnois haneroses, to build that which he destroyed. L'karev asher hirchik, to bring closer that which he pushed away. Uliyached asher hifrid, and to create a yichud on where he separated it. So the son of the Nefesh Hachaim says that what my father was referring to was the Arba Olamos. Atzilus, Bria, Yitzira, Asiya. Does he have to be a son to know? He didn't say four Lashonos.
We're going from down to up, or
Up, down to up.
No, today.
Liyached asher hifrid. He's going back to Echad. That's the last thing. We can try to darshan how all four work into the four worlds, but let me just say this: that the way the world works, as I've explained many times, is that everything started as one Echad. Next to Hashem, everything is Echad, and then as it went to the world of Bria, this is called in Kabbalistic language the Alma de Piruda. Everything started to separate. So hence, Adam and Chava became two people. We and our wives became two people. As I said last week, before, his wife was attached to him on his back and he couldn't find her. Until there was this Nasira, you can't find it because he was Echad. Then he found his wife. After Achar Shabbat, Kol Behemoth V'Chai Shebegan, he found his wife. Whoa, wondering what that was. Okay. So he found his wife because they have to be separated. So the world, as it's created, becomes separated to mamish like different blades of grass, and everything became more and more separated. The ultimate in our avoda, going from up to down, is to separate things even further. See, like if scientists come along and look at water and say, that's not water, that's amaratzis, that's hydrogen, that's oxygen, and take a look at everything and break it down to its elements, then they can do much more with it, correct? Once you understand the elements, you can do more. So even in the time of the Rambam, he's talking about 4 elements today. There's how many elements in the scientific table?
100 and something.
107?
Something, 100 something.
I think it's 107. Yeah. So elements in the chemistry. Anybody pass? Did anybody pass their chemistry test?
Naturally occurring is probably 107.
Yeah. I mean, so in other words, but I'm sure there's more. I'm sure there's more. These are just identified elements. Everything is elements and molecule. The more advanced we get, so more molecular we get, and the more
You break down the atoms. You break down the atoms into their parts.
Right. So Einstein comes and he splits the atom. Okay, Gewalt. You split an atom. Like, how do you do that? So you're breaking things down. So splitting the atom, as it's vernacularly called, is the ultimate in Piruda. Alma de Piruda. That's Bria. So everything's going from Atzilus, Bria, Yitzira, to Asiya. So everything starts as one, and it breaks down further and further and further. So now imagine the shore with one horn. Everything is Echad, and then it breaks down into a body. This is the way the shore was created. And where's the ultimate Pirud? Is the Hafs. And that's why if it doesn't have split Hafs, not kosher. When you come to the extremities of the human body, it's always split. If it's like this, it's not a finished creation. It's split. It's not as I'll say, a baby's born, mamish clenched fist, there's no splitting yet. And whenever anybody dies, it's always hands open and fingers apart. Never like this. It's always like this.
That's when the baby's in the womb, the fingers are all connected, and then The eyes are shut. Dies.
Eyes are shut. So the Alma, right, if you look at it early, like 3-4 months into one piece, the separations come later. So the Alma de Piruda, so this is the symbolism, Gewalt, the symbolism of the shore, Shehikriv Adam Harishain, that it started off with one parsa, one karen, which is echad, working from top to bottom. So here's the chap that we're usually working from bottom to top, right? Working from bottom to top, bringing a carbon, whatever. Adam Arishan is working from top to bottom. So it was a shorish karnoisa koidem leparsoisa.
These four things that you highlighted in the kavana, this is what the Nefesh Hachaim says about Adam Arishan's kavana.
Yes.
These four things, they mirror tshuva.
Each one needs a different kind of tshuva.
It needs a tshuva, or this is the model of tshuva?
Right. Because you did four things. You were ma'ave. No, every time you do an aver, you're ma'aves, you're hores, you're marachek, and you're mafrid. What's fascinating, by the way, Agav, I hope I'm not getting too crazy here for you. What's fascinating about the Alma de Piruda is that on the one hand, it's the ultimate there's the ultimate in creation. The more, like I said, if an animal's kosher, if it's got a split hoof, it's fordham. So it's the ultimate in creation. On the one hand, on the other hand, it's the lowest part, closest to, and it's very interesting. Like with people, the makom, when you wake up in the morning, what's the first thing you do? You wash negelwasser. Negel. What's a negel? Yeah. Nails. So the ikar of washing negelwasser is washing your nails, because that becomes tamei. Why does it become tamei if it should be the most kedusha? So first of all, it's very interesting because where the again, if I'm being a little too wild for you, just ignore me, because the ultimate in kedusha is the ultimate in tumah and klipa. That's the way that works. So there's nothing you can do more than with your yadayim, and there's nothing you can be hores more than with your yadayim. You can do more damage with your hands than with your head. Machshava ra, lo mitzarech l'maisa. Anti-Semite's an anti-Semite. Give him a gun; he's dangerous. That's the. When you're sleeping, you're kilu not doing your tachlis. You're a little bit dead when you're sleeping. So there becomes a tumah on the place of kedusha. So the first thing you do is you're metaher. In the Beis Hamikdash, the Kohanim did kiddush yadayim viraglayim. The nails. We don't do that anymore. Kiddush yadayim viraglayim. Although, if they make the sinks here any smaller, there's going to be an automatic kiddush yadayim viraglayim every time you wash. The water goes all over the place. I'm just saying. The sinks for Kohanim should be big sinks. It's kiddush yadayim, not kiddush yadayim viraglayim. So they take off their shoes, So
Kohanim also split their hands.
And this Kohanim very good split their hands. This Kabbalistic thing is splitting like this, and that, that's more advanced. How to split it, but it's the same thing as split hoofs.
But feet are always tummy.
Because they're not necessarily tamei. In the case of the Moshe Rabbeinu, he said, Hashem said, "Shal na'alecha me'al raglecha." Put your feet on the holiest place. By the Kohanim, they take off their shoes because that's their holiest place. They're standing on the Ritzvah, which is the holy place. It's not. There's no tumah involved over here.
Touch the feet.
The shoes are so. Look, here's just while we're here, let me just repeat that the I mentioned this before, but it's part of the space medrash here, that Moshe Rabbeinu was told to take off his shoes, and the Kohanim take off their shoes. So Moshe Rabbeinu, the very first words that Hashem said to him is, Shal na'alecha me'al raglecha. You should have told him, put a yarmulke on or something. You're coming into a holy place, put a yarmulke on or something. Bow down. A lot of things that you would have expected the Torah to say, but he tells him, take off your shoes. fascinating. Back then in the desert, shal nalecha me'al raglecha, take off your shoes. So the pshat is, and this is again what we're going to say here in a minute, the pshat is that the shoes are a false protection from the elements. That creates an insensitivity to the world. If you're walking with shoes, you can walk, on top of glass. You can walk on top of fire. You can walk You can even step on a Lego. Nothing happens. But you take off your shoes, like every little projection causes pain all the way through your body. Those that work with feet know that what goes on with the feet, it goes on with the whole body. Oh, you're a bucky. So do it your way. So you start from the bottom and you work your way up. So it's interesting that what Moshe Rabbeinu needed to be when he went in front of Hashem was completely hooked up lamala and hooked up lamata. And the shoes would have served as a chatzitza. The same thing with the Kohanim. If they wear shoes, so they have to be completely sensitive to where they're standing, but their hands have to be stretched out because they're working upwards. So this is all this down to up to down, parsois of the split hoofs. You think about the Gemara says. There's so much to say about this, but the Gemara says that a chazir is worse than every other animal in the world in terms of kashrus. Why? Treif was treif. We get all hung up on chazirim for it. So the pshat is, the Gemara tells us what the pshat is. The Gemara says because the chazir, rolls around in the dirt, puts its hoofs up in the air, and it has split hoofs, and says kosher ani, kosher ani. Take a look at me. So it doesn't chew its cud, so it's treif. But so there's a lot of symbolism in treif things saying it's kosher, which there's for sure a lot of that in this world. A lot of treif things saying they're kosher, but the point is that it's putting its parsoisa, which belong lamata, it's putting them lamala. It's turning his feet into his hands and saying kosher ani, what's the difference? So standing on their heads. There are times for that also. It's by the Sifus Beis HaShoeva. The Gedolei Hador stood on they put their hands on the earth, they stood on their hands, inversions. But so in the Chumash it says, let me show you something interesting. Moshe Rabbeinu, he says like this, Moshe Rabbeinu in his final prophetic speech, listen how Oisketseichent this is. The end of Parshas Veschanan. V'yadata, where is that? Das. V'yadata, ki Hashem Elokecha hu ha'Elokim hakel ha'neman shemer ha'bris v'ha'chesed lo yavav l'shemer mitzvosav la'lofdar. So that's das, your head. V'shamarta, next thing, es ha-mitzvah v'es ha-chukim v'es ha-mishpatim asher anoichim mitzavacha hayoyim la'asoisim. Shamarta is your pulas haguf, it's your yodayim, that's how you do shmira, you do the mitzvahs, right? You do the mitzvahs with your body. And the next pasuk is, v'haya ekev tishmun. Now comes your feet. Says Rashi, easy people don't connect parshas. You always have to connect the last parsha to the next parsha. Very important way to learn the Chumash, very important. But the next thing is, I just talked to you about your head, Moshe Rabbeinu says, and I talked to you about your shmiras ha-mitzvahs, which is your hands and your body. And now I'm going to say, V'haya ekev tishmun, comes Rashi, chimes in, and he tells us, Eila ha-mitzvahs asher adam dosh be'ikva. You're insensitive to these things. I'm in a higher world. What does it mean to be insensitive to? It doesn't mean this is a small mitzvah. Asher dash be'ikva, like I'm wearing my shoes. I'm not letting it get all the way to the bottom. So next thing Moshe Rabbeinu says, "V'haya ekev tishmun es hamishpatim elu shmartem v'asisam ha'yisam v'shamar Hashem l'kecha l'chas habris v'ahevcha v'verachecha v'irbacha," etc. All the beautiful brachos. So the idea is to connect the bottom to the top and the top to the bottom, and that's what Moshe Rabbeinu was saying. Where do we start? We go up, down. We go down, up. But the shore of Adam HaRishon, and this is what Nefesh Hachaim explains, is to do these four things from top to bottom. Let's just see if we can look at it for 1 second before we end. L'sake nasher ives, So apparently on the highest level, you did an iftah. What is iftah? What is a move,
Like a crookedness.
a corruption, meaning on the highest level, when you do an avera, on the highest level, you've made the bria crooked, if you will, corrupted something on the highest level. Yeah, like in all of technology, like you got to the highest, to the deepest, most makari place. So that's the first thing with tshuva is you have to be misaking that.
Misalignment, calibration.
All the way up on top. Hence, slach lanu. It's the first step. Second thing is livnois hanerosais. We're talking about you were hares. Hares is not ivus. Hares is that you destroy things that I had already built. Not just you're making like you I keep thinking, I'm just to give you my mushal, but I keep thinking about the time that I put, I was tired, and I put that solar gas in my car instead of 95.
Boy,
I got over it. 2,000 shekel. Yeah. It's expensive too. So what happens? It depends. If you don't drive with it, not so expensive. So you're obvious, you put the wrong fuel in. Once you drive with it, it goes circulating through your whole car. Doesn't have enough liquid in it or whatever it is, and it gums up the entire engine. And thank God you can't drive more than a couple of feet when the car stops anyway, because the stuff can't circulate. But what you're doing is, on the one level, you're ma'avet, right, with the gas pump. On the second level, you're hares. And on the third level, l'karev asher hirchik, u'liyached l'karev asher hirchik, you like this, you use the pirud in the wrong way. So now you have to be makarev asher hirchik, going up, we're going up now, I apologize. U'liyached asher hifrid. Now that you were separated, you have to bring it back to echad. So b'kitzur, what's going on over here is that we're dealing with it in four elamas. V'hela toyar kedushas machshavtoi v'kavanasai, and here's the upshot of the whole thing. V'hela toyar kedushas machshavtoi v'kavanasai means that a person has the ability with your kavana lahatzil tchila shifas ar kedusha al b'chinas madregas al yoynai shabar. You can reach the highest places. Dimyon hakarnayim, just like those horns. Even though it's not karnayim, it's one horn. Heim shorish nishmasei. If you're looking inside, make a comma. How do you read that? Heim shorish nishmasei v'nishmasei. Heim shorish nishmasei. You got all the way to the shorish nishmasei v'nishmasei. Umisham. So you start with the shorish neshama. You work yourself down to the neshama. Umisham him shechachas al ruchai v'nafshai. That's our naran. I just want to give al derech, and this is what the Chumash means. V'haya ekev tishmun, from head to toe. Mitzvah sha'adam dash ba'akevav, says Chazal. V'hu aprasai shel nefesh habahamis. So on the one hand, it's the most bahami. Like you say, feet are always tamei. And on the other hand, it's the place of kedusha, because your feet, by Moshe Rabbeinu, by Kohanim and by us, the feet, this could be the Mecham of Tumah, and it's also the place where of Malchus. If you look at the Kabbalistic chart, so it's Malchus is the feet, right? Chesed, Gvura, Netzach, right? Yesod, Malchus, feet. That's the feet. So it could be the worst place, the lowest place. The derech of tzaddikim is to go into the lowest place. If you're holding like that, I'll go into the lowest place and bring it up. This is what Baal Shem Tov's whole chiddush was. That what we need to do is be malan atzotzos. That was his whole shita. Whole shita of the Baal Shem Tov is take the worst rishoyim, the ganovim, the roitzim, and bring that up. And let's work in the malchus area. The problem is. Hence there's Chabad houses in Timbuktu, in the biggest Mekoymas of Avodah Zarah. It's all the teaching of the Baal Shem Tov. The problem, obviously, is that it's hard to win a fight in the dirt without getting dirty. It's difficult to do that. So we like being in a pristine place like Beit Shemesh, but it depends where you want to attack. What your koach is. Everybody lefi Madrei Gus say. See, I just want to give you one preview to what we'll learn on Sunday, Mir Hashem, if I can take one more minute. And that is, it's very interesting because I just want to say one sentence. That if you look at the Rambam Hilchos Teshuva, so he goes from bottom up. How do you do Teshuva? First thing is Azivas Hachet. Second thing is Gamar B'libo Shlo Yechtoi. The third thing is Lo Yashuv L'Zachet Lo. Right? He's going. First thing is stop sinning. It's like AA. Just stop drinking. That's the first thing. Then we'll talk about how to do it. If you look at Rabbeinu Yonah, page 2, Shari Teshuva, he goes from top to bottom. First thing is to be Matar your Machshava. Second thing is to train yourself in your brain and discipline yourself. And then finally, you'll end up changing your Maisa. A Machlokes, nobody's talking about. Nobody's talking about. First Machlokes, the Rambam, Perek Beis of Hilchos Teshuva, and Shari Teshuva, Perek Aleph. Whether you're going from top to bottom, it's a Machlokes, but there are two different approaches to Teshuva. It's exactly the two that we're talking about. Do you start with the Karnayim or do you start with the process? It's b'diuk what we're talking about. It's so relevant to life. Like how is your masaking your psychology? Is it behavioristically or is it what's the other way? Cognitively. Sounds good. which way are you going here? So so we have to get into Teshuva because the whole Parak is talking about Teshuva. The whole Parak is realigning and rehooking, the Nefesh back to the Ruach and the Neshama. I'll leave it with that.
Maybe can you repeat those 4 things that happen every time we do a sin?
Well, you have it right in front of you.